Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I thought I'd show you how I make my flat shaker card. Now this is done with laminating sheets, and I will go through how to laminate and score and cut the paper. So it's pretty cool. I love the method, and if you have acetate already, by all means use acetate, but what I had was laminator sheets that I could get in the right size. So it's an A2 size card, and I'm going to heat up my laminator, and while I do that, I'm going to use 2 pieces of laminating sheets, and I'm going to rip one in half and put it back to back and place it on the inside of this sheet. It's in effect going to get us 2 sheets. I've tried running through with just 1 sheet, and it gets wrinkly and really bubbly, and these sometimes will get bubbly too, so you have to kind of use the best parts. If you're lucky enough to not let it get bubbly, you're in great shape, but just make sure there's nothing trapped in there before you send it through the laminator. And I'm using 3 milliliter laminating sheets, and you'll have to see me move the laminator around because I can't fit the whole thing in the screen. It's too wide. So I'm just going to carefully run that through, and when it starts to come out the back, I'm going to pull on it gently, mostly just putting pressure, trying to keep anything from wrinkling. And it still gets bubbles. It's hit or miss whether or not and which sides are going to get the bubbles. But you see, I'm just kind of gently tugging on it because I don't want it to have any kind of wrinkles, best I can. Again, if you have acetate, use it. If you have packaging, use it. This is just what I'm using. I'm going to get my laminator out of the way, and then I'm going to trim this down. And I'm going to trim it in my slide trimmer, We Are Memory Keeper slide trimmer. Try and get you zoomed out there so you can see a little bit better. And I'm just going to trim off the edges kind of straight. And by the time I get the 3rd edge trimmed off, you'll see that it's actually 2 sheets. And one of the sheets has the bubbles, the other one does not. So I'm going to save the bubbly one for another project. And I'm going to cut this down to 6.5 by 5.25. So that's going to give me a 1/2 inch on each side to do my folding. And so just get this bubbly one out of the way. They're still usable parts, or there's a million things I use this stuff for, so it's not going to go to waste, I promise you that. So I'm going to take my mini scoreboard. I'm going to use the pointy end of my scoring tool, and if you have, a stylus or something like that, you just want to do it a couple of times at 1/2 inch on each side, and just to get a nice deep score line. And you kind of hold on to it because it gets slick and tries to slip around on you. And so if you have a better, I want a score buddy. I don't have one. This is what I have. And so it's what I use. What I want to do though is I'm going to take and fold down on each side. And I'm just making a preliminary fold for now so that I can miter the corners. And once I've got that all folded down, I gotta find my scissors, and I'm just gonna trim off those corners, just kind of miter them. I'm eyeballing it. You can get precise if you want to, but it doesn't matter as long as you're reducing the bulk, because this stuff is kind of stiff. But once I've got those mitered, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use this red super sticky tape, and I'm gonna just add tape all along the edges there. I'm going to leave the red stuff on until I'm ready for it. But since I'm going to be burnishing, I want to do it before I burnish so I don't have to fight with the fold. You're still already kind of fighting with the fold, but you need it in order to get your miters proper. I'm just going to trim that off, make sure there's nothing sticking out. And then I'm going to grab myself a harder surface, because I notice when I'm trying to burnish on my silicone, things get wonky. So just getting one of my cutting boards, and I'm going to burnish that really well. And you want to hold down the edges because it'll want to warp on you. So you hold down the edges and just use the sharp part of your bone folder or whatever kind of burnishing tool you might have. I imagine you could put some heat to it, but I'd be afraid it would warp on me or mess up my glue or something. So once I've got all those edges nice and tight, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my trimmer and I'm going to grab my background piece. That's from the Honeybee Stamps Beach Wave 6-inch paper pad. Love this paper pad. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so A2 size. And I'm going to go ahead and place that inside my little pocket there. I'm going to hold it down because I want it to be steady, and then really push to get that tape on there. And I like to do the ends first because it tries to bend on you. So I just hold the paper down, give it a push, and then give it a burnish. And then I'm going to do one of the sides. Yep, just make sure that paper's nice and flat when you do it. And then I'm going to leave that one open so I can put all my goodies in. And I've got my little honeybee embellishments, and then I've got my generic that I put inside. I don't remember where I got those, probably Nuvo or Tonic Studios or something like that. Anyways, I put them all into this little container because I rarely even use them. So I figured let's use them up. And I'm sorry I'm off camera there. There we go. I'm just going to take a few fingerfuls and watch them stick to my fingers and drop some in. You can put a lot, you can put a little. I like it, you know, I don't know, about 1/8 of the way filled, maybe a little bit more. I'm just going to do a few of these because they're expensive. So I'm just going to do a few of those, pick up all the little strays there. Now you could stamp inside, you could put your stuff inside, but I wanted to do mine on the outside. So I'm just going to pull off that red line tape and go ahead and seal that puppy up. And there, your shaker part is done. And it does kind of puff up a little, and I don't mind because it lets those sequins move around. But I'm going to attach that to a card base that is the craft card. It's my favorite, and I have a lot of it. And I'm going to use my 1/2 inch red tape, and I'm going to do the Natasha foot trick, and I'm going to put a piece on each side. Now, the thing I don't like about this tape is you have to cut it with scissors, and it really gums up the scissors. But still. And once you've got all 4 corners down, I'm going to just use my tape runner for the rest. This is the one I got from Simon Says Stamps in my monthly kit. And it's paper to paper, so it's fine. And then I'm going to fold these corners up, and you kind of got to burnish these because that plastic wants to fall right back down in that, you know, backing tape or whatever it is. I need to find a way to recycle that stuff. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and lay that down on there. Make sure my little tails are all sticking out so I can pull it afterwards. I'm just going to press it down and then pull all those tails off. And burnish it down just with my hands. I don't want to use a tool because I don't want to scratch my acetate or my laminating sheets. And I got this flip-flop stamp set from Honeybee Stamps yesterday. After Tracy Shultz did a demo with those, I fell in love and had to have them. And I'm using some more from that Honeybee Stamps Beach Waves to cut out the flip-flops and their tops. And I just kind of tape them down with some mint tape so they don't slippy around in my cutting machine. And I'm going to put them through, get those cut out, and you can fit them both in there at the same time so it's a quicker cut. Says me, there we go. And I like to bring both of my my little platforms over because the little tiny pieces tend to stick to it sometimes or fall on the floor or do what they do. So I'm going to keep those straight, you know, right to left, left to right, so that I get them on the right feet. I don't know if you'd really notice, but just to be on the safe side. And I will take my reptile adhesive that I have in a little small bottle and grab my tweezers and just glue those on. And I don't glue all of it because part of it sticks out. Get my placement and just lay that down on there, give it a press. And then I'll sit this one right next to the other one so I get my placement proper so that they're even, kind of. Best I can do, even-wise. I'm just going to go ahead and glue those down. I can see myself making lots of flip-flops. I'm going to use tape runner again to stick these to the top of the acetate. I don't want to use any glue at all. I'm just going to place one and I'm going to just overlap a little bit, but I'm going to leave the sandal part exposed because I want to put some glossy accents on there to make them stand out a little bit more. And then as far as the sentiment goes, I don't have the Technique Junkies one, but I do have this one from Hero Arts. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp that down onto this piece of craft card with the VersaFine Claire and Warm Breeze. And I want it to go the length or the width of the card. So you'll see I'm going to trim it with my decal trimmer. And it'll be a little bit longer. That's okay. I'll just cut off the excess. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in my trimmer, trim that off. It's kind of close to the top there, so I just want to trim it off so it's even at the bottom. And that's that. Pretty simple. You could cut it all the way out, but I just like the way it looks going across. So I'm going to use my tape runner again, and we'll see how this stuff actually holds. I'm just going to place it on, burnish it down really well, and trim off that excess. And all that's really left to do here is to just add a couple of little embellishments on the outside. I'm going to put them on the ribbon with my glossy accents. And if I remember, I put the glossy accents down first. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the thongs. Now that I had to cut off the tip of my glossy accents because it got so clogged up. And so you get a little sloppy because you don't have a fine tip. You just take a fine tip pokey tool and kind of clean off any excess of that glossy accents. So just about done with this card. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I will leave a link in the description box below for everything that you need. And I hope you give me a thumbs up. Thanks. Have a good day.